We value your feedback. These are some of the comments I received. Just watched you on YouTube. It was beautiful. I'm at work with tears in my eyes. Thank you, truly, for that encouragement. Another comment. Thank you for this. Wow, you really trapped me in my head, thinking about my destiny. Everything you said was right, and I believe that changing my destiny is possible. Whilst you were speaking, I was listening to every point, and I say to myself, so I'm sitting waiting for my destiny to change when I can better it myself, regardless of how hard things may seem. A friend of mine, Dana from Canada, sent me a photo of his dog, Penny, watching our show, and he said,
Penny is watching you, Lady Winette. You're inspiring her.
I posted a picture on my WhatsApp status, and I asked my friends and my family what they thought about Penny the dog was saying, and some of the responses were,
Matt Taylor said, when's she going to start playing that bloody piano? Heather said, what a beautiful and wonderfully made woman with a beautiful voice, calm and collected. King Darren said, Penny is asking for subtitles. Donald said, Penny the dog is thinking. She is so intelligent and gorgeous at the same time.
thank you for that, Penny the dog. We really enjoyed your contribution to us. So today we have an exciting show that is ahead. And we look forward to an amazing evening. Every adversity, every failure, every heartache carries with it a seed of an equal or greater benefit. Napoleon Hill.
Welcome to the Extraordinary Achievers, founded in 2014 by Chief Lady Winette Peters, with a dedication and aim to inspire, motivate, and encourage others. Lady Winette holds chieftain titles, over 35 international humanitarian awards, as well as being an international speaker and entrepreneur. Join us as we learn to move towards achieving the extraordinary for your life.
Welcome to the second session of The Power of the Mind. I am Lady Winette Peters, the founder and CEO of the Extraordinary Achievers. We aim to empower, to motivate, to encourage, and to inspire others. I'd like to acknowledge our Zoom, Facebook, and YouTube audience. Please do click, 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 like, share, share, share. Please click away, share, and like. This evening in the studio, we have Coach Jim. And we're so proud to have Coach Jim with us today. A man that I have a profound respect for, an individual that his every word intrigues all because of his delivery, his calm nature, his wisdom, and most of all, his modesty. He is a man I'm proud to call a Coach Jim. Coach Jim, welcome to the studio. Hi, Coach Jim, and welcome.
Thank you, Lady Wynette. It's a picture show.
Fantastic.
Well, it's great. Yeah. Well, I've been studying your questions. Yeah, they do have some fundamental meaning to me. The way I live my life, the way I like to live life. So yeah, really coming into your first question, which I thought was, and your first was, how does, hang on, missing me line out. What is your opinion about mastering your destiny?
That's right. In fact,
that's it.
What is your opinion about mastering your destiny, Coach Jim?
Well, for me, mastering one's destiny is about looking into yourself. You know, we start life at a young age and we go through and we're not aware of our destiny. We're not aware of where we want to go, what we want to do. And at some point, we start to ask questions. And you say the questions, you say, well, you know, why am I feeling what I'm feeling? What can I do better? And for me, it was about looking into yourself. It was about going inside and who am I now? You got to remember, you know, from a child to whatever point you're asking questions, you building up layers and layers and layers and layers of protectionism, doubt. You know, the type of things that we get is delusion, anger, aversion, greed. We don't know. But mixed in all of that, we got this paradox of love, compassion, trying to find peace and equanimity in our life. So we have to look in. We have to find how can we get rid of layers. And the way I look at it is my personal self, I started to seek some very wholesome wisdom, not just kind of from friends or anything, but actually good wisdom. And from there, I started to create a belief system. Once I started create a belief system, things started to fall in place more. Then I was starting to truly create my destiny. I wasn't waiting for somebody else. I'd done it myself. And I think, you know, the point I'm saying about this is mastering oneself is mastering your life. And you've got to really look at what in my life is truthful and what is delusion. And everybody has a choice for themselves to seek their path and get rid of the delusion. It's going to take you nowhere. Look for your truth. And truth, what is truth? Well, for me, it's quite simple. Not to make suffering for myself, but more importantly, not to make suffering for others. That is why we use wholesome wisdom. That is why we develop this to master our destiny and to master ourselves. So for me, you have a choice. You can delude yourself or you can speak the truth. It's really up to you. You have a choice. Each has a consequence. So I'm thinking that that's enough on that. But then let's go into the next bit. You know, what we're talking about is we're making choices to achieve this. You know, we have to look at how our choices are made. And again, we take from the first part, we need to develop a belief system. And in that belief system, you're going to learn how you could do things more wholesomely and not through the delusion and not through anger. You know, we're trying to work with the skills of love and compassion. These are the things that will get you much further in your life. Humility. These are the things that create what we want. And really, to maintain that, we have to develop mindfulness. We have to be mindful of what we do. And we have to also, to give it longevity, you need to have a concentration. It all sounds pretty busy. It sounds very daunting. It's not, because you're not familiar with it. So when you do develop your familiarity, and like everything we learn in life, it takes time. And yes, like everything we do in life, You fall down and you have to pick yourself up. Do we pick ourselves up with anger, resentment? Or do we pick ourselves up with love and compassion for ourselves and others? For me, the second part is better. You can always do a lot with that, and it always gives you ground to come back to. If you want to get angry, it's a lot harder to come back again when you had anger. So that's controlling your destiny. That's giving you what you want. The other thing is my balance, my equanimity, my center. Oh, we all think we're in a center because we're familiar with a center that's probably not in the center. You've got to remember, we've got many things pulling us apart. At the back here, we've got our history, full of regrets. No, it shouldn't be regrets. It should be what can I learn to go forward. Then in the front of us, we have our future. Okay, we're going to get anxious. Why? We want to achieve, we want to win, we want to get this, we want to get that. Ultimately, you're going to create anxiety. What comes out of anxiety? Impatience, intolerance. So all these things are pulling us off our center. Even if we find our center, we've got to practice. To our right, let's say, we've got emotions. We've got intense happiness. We want to get there because that's really my place. You know, you've got 10 steps here. All the time, one step, you're coming off from your equanimity. We've got to our left. We've got despair. Okay, we've still got 10 steps there. Do we seek despair? Yeah, you get attached to despair, and many people do. They get depressed. They hang out there. It's a great place. They don't realise they're destroying themselves and everybody else. Again, seek the balance. It's in the middle ground. It's where you feel satisfied. You're not going to be this end or forward or back. You're going to be right in the middle. That's the place to be. That's where we find. But being mindful of these things, being mindful of how we think, being mindful of how we talk to people, being mindful of our actions, that is what gives us our equanimity. You need to maintain it. You need to put the right effort into everything from being the master of your destiny all the way down. It is effort. But it's an effort that you become, let's say, a higher being within yourself. It's not about this. So, see, and all I say is the last point, my belief system is the teachings of Buddha, but I'll also say there's some amazing books that you can read, wisdom books, and the support system beyond that is my yoga practice. So there you go. I'll leave that with you guys. Hopefully you take something from it. Lady Wanette.
Namaste. Coach Jim, on behalf of our viewers, we would like to thank you for your time today and thank you for empowering us with some new thoughts. I have certainly benefited from Coach Jim, a Christian myself, and I have been taught so much from his Buddha beliefs because of the principles of the calmness that he possesses. God is love. God is everything. God is in everywhere where we are in. So I appreciate my coach. I appreciate my fencing, my yoga, and most of all, I appreciate the way that you teach me, Coach Jim, how to be mindful. Mindful in everything I do, in what I say, mindful in what I eat, what I do. And for that, namaste. In introducing our next guest, we're going to play a little clip.
People often say that truth is stranger than fiction, and every now and then a true story comes to light that almost defies belief. Such is the life story of Tony Antony, who, as a 4-year-old boy, was taken from his parents in London to live with his grandfather in China. His grandfather, a Kung Fu Grand Master, trains Tony in the art of Shaolin monk traditions of Kung Fu. After many trials and much suffering, Tony eventually becomes the world Kung Fu champion. As time passes, Tony is invited to work for the International Kung Fu Federation, an elite bodyguard organization protecting some of the world's richest and most powerful people.
Instead of shooting somebody in their shoulder or their leg to disarm them, instead I would shoot to kill. I would shoot them straight in the face.
Then, tragedy strikes and Tony falls into a downward spiral of self-destruction, which turns him into a bloodthirsty and violent gangster. Tony is subsequently incarcerated into the notorious Nicosia Central Prison, where he finds every form of human depravity.
Tony Antony, you know fear. A 3 times world champion in Kung Fu, an extraordinary career that he has had in international close protection security, a damaged boy turned a violent man, and a stranger with the power to reach into the depth of darkness. Tony Antony, the CEO of the Great Commission Society, is a passionate evangelist, best-selling author, and a highly sought-after international speaker. Evangelist Tony has addressed many thousands of people every year, speaking in prisons, broadcasts. Tony has developed an extensive teaching curriculum designed to equip people to reach out to the lost Tony, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay.
Hello, Ian.
Hi, I apologize. Okay, so Tony, you wrote a best-selling autobiography that sold over 2 million copies and has been translated into 39 languages. You must have quite a story to tell. Can you please tell our viewers on a whistle-stop tour of your life to help them understand something of your background?
Yes. Well, first of all, can I just say thank you very much for having me on your program. It's really lovely to join you today. Well, Wynette, I was born in the UK to a Chinese mother and an Italian father, and tragedy struck our family when I was born, as my father contracted multiple sclerosis, which is a neurological disease affecting the nervous system, and my mother suffered from postnatal depression, which caused her to reject me as a child. When I was 4 years old, my mother was not willing to look after me any longer, and so she arranged for me to be trafficked to mainland China. I was raised in southern China for 8 years by a man who I always thought was my grandfather, but he was not. He was not a biological relation at all. And every time he would speak to me, he would hit me on my head with a bamboo cane. He would make me bleed every day. You know, he would wake me up in the early morning and throw water over me to wake me up, and he'll beat me if I cried. He was a grandmaster in Kung Fu, and his aim was to raise me as a Buddhist and rigorously train me in his family tradition to pass that on to the next generation. He abused me so much. He really treated me like an animal, actually. I returned to my parents in the UK when I was about 11, 12 years old. And my father was much worse now. And my mother, well, she still rejected me. I continued training Kung Fu into my teenage years. And I returned to China each year to fight in many underground tournaments. I excelled in martial arts, never losing a fight. And I entered the World Championships, where I held the world title for 3 years in my style. I was highly sought after for my unique fighting skill, and I soon entered the security industry, as you mentioned earlier, and I was now working in the higher echelons of close protection. I got several high-profile clients, including a Saudi Arabian ambassador, We would travel frequently from North America to North Africa and also the Middle East. And it was at this point where I met a girl called Aya. Aya was a beautiful Swedish girl. She was studying law in London, and we were in love for 3 years, and she was the best part of my life at the time. And I asked her to marry me, and she said yes. And so we were now preparing for our wedding. It was a few weeks later, however, while I was working in Rome, in Italy, I received tragic news that Aya had been killed in a car accident in England. Of course, I was enraged, and the one thing that made my life living was torn from my life. And overnight, I became a very violent, reckless person. Even though I was raised as a Buddhist throughout my childhood, now it all counted for naught. And really, I was just really engaging now in private debt collection for my clients. I was violating protocols. I got involved in major crime and monstrous violence. Finally, when I was working in Cyprus, in the Mediterranean, a Greek island, my father asked me to help him pay for a trial medical treatment that could possibly help him. It cost tens of thousands of pounds, and I didn't have the money that he needed, but I got it for him nonetheless. I got it for him by breaking into luxury hotels and apartments and committing a number of robberies. If anyone got in my way, I would hurt them badly. And soon after, I gave the money to my father. The police had arrested me in Cyprus, and I was finally sentenced to a 3-year prison sentence in Nicosia Central Prison in Cyprus there.
So I understand that it was in Nicosia Central Prison where you received a mysterious letter from a stranger. Can you tell me and tell our viewers what was in that turned your life around?
Oh, well, what a question. And to be honest with you, this is the most important part of my life now. But, you know, Nicosia Central Prison was a barbaric, violent place to be, you know, where inmates were attacked, they were abused, they were killed. In the infirmary, 1 or 2 inmates would die each month. You know, each day was a fight for survival. But as you said there, you know, one day I received a letter from this stranger. His name was Michael Wright. He told me that he saw my picture in a newspaper in Cyprus. And he was working in Cyprus at the time as a Christian missionary. And he told me that he was praying for me. He offered to visit me. I wasn't interested at all. But, you know, I heard that in the visit room of the prison, you could get your visitor to get you a Coca-Cola. This was amazing because in prison, we would only drink dirty water. It was quite muddy or cloudy. And I heard they had Coca-Cola in there. And so that's the reason why I invited this Christian missionary. And I wasn't not interested. But, you know, when he first came, I didn't like him. But, you know, he visited me week by week, month by month, and we eventually became friends. He never judged me, but he loved me like I was his son, actually. And Michael visited me every Thursday for 3 years. And really, it was on one particular day, Michael was telling me that there is a God and God is real. He told me that God loves me so much. And of course, this is really alien to me because I was a Buddhist. I didn't believe in that stuff. But that's what Michael told me. But he told me how much God loves me so much that a long time ago, over 2,000 years ago, God sent his own son, Jesus Christ, to come to the world, to live a perfect life and then die this terrible death on a cross, to take the punishment for my sins. He told me that as Jesus was the Son of God, he was raised back to life. And in so doing, he overcame death and he provided a way for me to be forgiven. And, you know, Michael told me that if I put my faith in God and if I turn away from my sins and say sorry to him, and if I surrender to him every day, then my life will change. Mm-hmm. And you know what? He told me God would set me free of this grip of sin. The Bible verse that he shared with me that really impacted me was from John chapter 8, verse 36, that says, if the Son sets you free, you'll be free indeed. Now, let me tell you this. That night in my prison cell, I was looking at my bars. They made a cross shape. And I looked and I tried to believe, but I'm sorry, I didn't. Because for me, seeing is believing. Are you with me? And so I find it very hard. But I remembered my fiance, Aya, Well, she loved me, and she was a blind girl. I didn't mention earlier, but I was completely blind. And you see, she loved me, and she never even saw my stupid face. And so as I looked at the cross, I began to think, well, if a blind person can love somebody they've never seen, maybe I could know Jesus by, with not with my
Absolutely.
eyes, but by using faith. And so that night,
Absolutely.
I prayed. I spoke in my empty prison cell. If you saw me, you'd think I'm gone crazy. But I prayed to Jesus Christ, and that's the night when my life completely changed.
Amazing, amazing. We know that you finally returned to the UK with a newfound purpose in your life. So today you're the CEO of a global organization called GCS, which stands for Great Commission Society, that operates in over 100 countries. Can you tell us what you do and what does your team do?
Oh, thank you. Well, you know what? It really is a teamwork, and we've had many ups and downs to get to where we are at now. But in summary, GCS is the Great Commission Society, and we're a global non-denominational organization that exists to communicate the gospel message with excellence and expedience. And we bring a fresh, dynamic, gospel-centric and strategic approach to global evangelism. And all evangelism is just basically telling one beggar where to find bread. You know, one beggar telling another beggar where to find bread. That's all it is. We're sharing good news. And so our commitment is to communicate the gospel to every person in the world. We've got about 3,000 volunteers in our organization, of which 200 are trained, experienced evangelists. We've got teams in 48 countries that are working in over 100. And we have a threefold approach of reaching the lost, teaching the saved, and serving everybody. So there are some parts of the world that are very dangerous, where they are considered to be closed countries to Christianity. And of course, we don't just go in there preaching. We do share the gospel, of course. But initially, for example, in Pakistan, we will go there and dig water wells because they have a need for drinking water, safe water. So we give them drinking water, and then we also give them living waters by telling them the reason why we do it. We share that good news of salvation through Christ.
Evangelist Tony, our last question to you today is, you have an incredible passion and an unstoppable energy for the work that you do. Can you tell us, what is your secret to your strength? What is it that spurs you to keep going?
Well, I can only say that my strength is my Lord and my Savior, Jesus Christ. And, you know, there's one particular Bible verse that many Christians might be familiar with. It's in John chapter 8, verse 35. It says, "For whoever wants to save their life will lose it. But whoever loses their life for my sake and the gospel will find it." Most people forget that end bit, and the gospel. And actually, in fact, for me, whenever I share the gospel with people around the world, and we're doing that in over 100 countries, really, I'm going there to share good news with them. But every time I'm doing it, that good news is flowing through me. And I know what it can do to a lost person like myself. It changed my life for the good. And it's given me purpose and hope. And I now know that after this life, I know where I'm going to go to be with my Savior in heaven. And so it is only right now to obey God's last command, to go into the world and proclaim the gospel to all creation. And that is what motivates me to keep going.
Evangelist Tony, you're a very busy man with thousands to attend to. We thank you for your time that you've had today, that you've given us to teach us about change, to teach us that anything and everything is possible and that miracles are real. I've often said, nothing is impossible and absolutely everything is possible. Tonight, I'd like to conclude by saying, life has taught me that in everything, surrendering the former you and adopting humility will carry you to levels you have never dreamt of. To work on one's confidence so that you may be able to stand tall in all times, to strengthen one's courage in order to grow and to continue, and master your communication skills to bring clarity to your endeavors. In mastering your destiny, remember to connect yourself with your higher power. For me, God is my source. Stand by your beliefs and stand in your faith. In the background today, we have Roman Sampson, we have Atlantic TV, we have King Darren, and I would like to thank them. To my side here, on to my right is King Darren from We Fix It. To my left is Atlantic TV, who have done some tremendous work in the background. On the other side too, we have Gina Sampson, who's been working behind the Zooms and coordinating and communicating with those on the Zoom. I would like to thank my family and friends and everyone that's out there that has made it possible. Today would have been possible without you, the viewers. Today would have been impossible without our speakers. I would like to welcome the speakers back onto the screen.
Hello.
Okay, I'd like to say, Coach Jim, thank you so much for your time today. Evangelist Tony, thank you very much for your time today. I appreciate you all so much for having to have empowered our viewers at home. And thank you for your time that you've shared today. And thank you one more time to our viewers that have listened to Coach Jim and have listened to Evangelist Tony. I'd like to say goodbye to our guests from our green room, and we hope you'll join us again in the future for another episode of The Extraordinary Achievers. I would like to welcome you to our next show next week, Wednesday, when we have some more amazing guests that are going to be able to teach us, empower us, and train our minds to think differently. Next week, we will be looking at what we watch. Does it make a difference to us? What we listen to, what difference does that make? Are we influenced by the movies we watch? Are we conditioned by the music that we listen to? I urge you, please, to click, like, and share this video. And please, tell your friends to join us. If anyone has a view, we would love to hear from you. And for those that are at home and are feeling sad and lonely, we wish you hope. We wish you love. We wish you strength. And if you can reach out to any one of us that can assist, or if I can put you in touch with anyone that can be of assistance, I'll be so glad to help. I'd like to be that sister, that friend, that mentor, that coach that can assist you, or I can point you in the right direction. May you remain blessed. May you remain favored. And best of all, may you remain strong. Have faith. Reach out to that higher source. Reach out to the higher power, and may you find strength in it. Today, may you find strength in the words that were shared. We'll see you next week. We look forward to seeing you.